Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Okay, this is episode 240. Can't believe how many episodes we've had, all because of you guys and the support that you give this show. So thank you very much for that. And before we get started, just want to mention our sponsor, Brothers Blend Coffee. It's available at www.brothersblendcoffee.com. It comes in 3 varieties: the Tyler's Cup, Adoniram's Brew, and Harmony Roast. Each one of those kind of a different flavor profile, a little bit stronger than the previous, but I did give them a little out of order. Sorry about that. It's about $12 plus a couple dollars for shipping and handling for 12 ounces, pre-ground, and it comes to you from Montgomery Lodge in Milford, Massachusetts. And of course, this is kind of their charity fundraiser to support the charitable causes, activities, and maintenance of that lodge. So please be sure to check them out. We would really appreciate it. They've been very kind to us, so we would like to return them. If you drink coffee, check it out. Again, www.brothersblendcoffee.com. So last week we talked with Frater O about some great esoteric and Western philosophical topics, including meditation, diet, and things of that nature. I hope you enjoyed. So this week, we are going to finish out our Albert Pike series, and then next week, we will go with a conversation with Frater O, and the week after that, I'm hoping to put out 2 interviews in the same episode, both with 2 Australian brothers, Brother Jack and Brother Wayne, to give you a little taste more in-depth of Freemasonry in Australia. So you're going to hear about ritual differences, you're going to hear about the problems they're having and the problems we're having, so some interesting conversation there. And you'll be able to hear a little bit about the special clubs that they're using out there in order to facilitate additional fellowship for their younger members. And Brother Wayne talks to us about a lot of the really neat intricacies within the craft over there, the different ritual that goes on province by province or territory by territory. So please check those out. You can look forward to those in the next couple weeks. But right now, we are going to get right into this paper on Albert Pike. Now, this piece is an interesting story because it's actually written by one of the foremost experts in Masonic history, who is Brent S. Morris. The topic is actually something that we did touch on in an episode of the Masonic Roundtable, and this was the connection between Lucifer and Freemasonry, and how it all stems to this big giant hoax and this lie. And this is something that countless Masons around the world have been told that they're devil worshippers and all this nonsense. And it's really a joke that went awry and has not been widely accepted when the correction was issued. Nobody cared. It wasn't sensational. So without any further delay, we're going to read Albert Pike and Lucifer, The Lie That Would Not Die by S. Brent Morris, past master. Have you heard the sad story about the dog that someone tried to dry off in a microwave oven? What about the one where a jealous husband poured concrete into a new convertible, not realizing it was a surprise anniversary gift from his wife? Or maybe you've read about Albert Pike's so-called Luciferian doctrine, which teaches Masons that Lucifer is God. These stories have one thing in common. They're all false. The first 2 are harmless urban myths innocently retold as cautionary tales. The story about Albert Pike and Lucifer, however, is a lie that will not die. Gabriel Antoine Jogan Pages, writing as Leo Taxel, conceived the hoax and designed it to slander Freemasonry and to embarrass the Catholic Church. It has been repeated for a century by anti-Masons who accept with childlike eagerness any slur against our gentle craft. No other lie has captured the imagination of anti-Masons quite like this Leo Taxel hoax, just one of the many perpetrated against Freemasonry and the Catholic Church. Once our critics have twisted logic to convince themselves that Freemasonry is the work of Satan, they are ready to accept this perversion. It usually comes in the form of a quotation that starts, "On July 14, 1889, Albert Pike, Sovereign Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry, addressed to the 23 Supreme Confederated Councils of the world the following instructions. That is all you need to read to know the author has fallen prey to this infamous hoax." It is not entirely certain when the quote was fabricated, nor where it was first published. We can, however, trace modern appearances to Edith Starr Miller, who wrote Occult Theocracy in 1933 under the pen name Lady Queensborough. Her work is accepted and treated as the gospel truth, usually without attribution. Such practices are known as plagiarism in other disciplines, but neither serious research nor intellectual integrity stand in the way of the headlong rush to slander Freemasonry. Miss Miller found her quote in the 1894 book by Abe Claren de la Reve, Women and Child in Universal Freemasonry. Abbe de la Reve, like Miss Miller, was duped by the hoax. They are guilty only of incompetent research and an eager willingness to believe the worst about Freemasonry. The ultimate source was a pornographer, anti-Mason, and anti-Catholic, Leo Taxil, a.k.a. Gabriel Antoine Jogan Pages. Taxil publicly confessed his deception in 1897. His story is widely available for anyone willing to look for the truth. Just a few of the many references are listed below. I'm not going to read the references, just a quick note to our listeners. If you would like them, they will be available on the paper when you download the app. Continuing on. From these references, which you can look at in the app, Albert Pike, from Edith Starr Miller, Lady Queensborough, Occult Theocracy, 2 volumes, 1933, reprint, Hawthorne, California, The Christian Book Club of America, 1980. Page 233 in La Femme et l'Enfant dans la Franc Maconnière Universelle, page 578. A.C. de la Revue states that on July 14, 1889, Albert Pike, Sovereign Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry, addressed to the 23 Supreme Confederated Councils of the world the following instructions, which we quote herewith in part. Page 220. That which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, Sovereign Grand Inspectors General, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of its initiates of the higher degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, the God of the Christians, whose deeds prove his cruelty, perfidy, and hatred of man, barbarism, and repulsion for science, would Adonai and his priests calumniate him. Thus, the doctrine of Satanism is heresy, and the true pure philosophic religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai, or Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil. There are several problems with this quotation, some obvious and some subtle. To start with, 1 million out of 2.5 million American Masons have the 32nd degree in the Scottish Rite, including ministers, rabbis, bishops, and other devout worshippers of God. It is inconceivable that there would not be a mass resignation if these men were taught this disgusting Luciferian doctrine. It's unbelievable that millions of Scottish Rite Masons during the last 2 centuries could be cowed into such total silence. The quote is riddled with logical inconsistencies. There is no position of Sovereign Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry. There is no Confederation of Supreme Councils. In the United States, virtually all Scottish Rite Masons receive the 32nd degree, so why would Albert Pike suggest special treatment for 30, 31, and 32 Masons when that would have included everyone? The real evidence of a hoax comes in De la Rive's footnote, which neither Ms. Miller nor anyone else bothers to quote. It refers to Diana Vaughan, the matchless creation of Leo Taxil's twisted mind. The footnote and translation are printed below. It was the sister Diana Vaughan that Albert Pike, in order to give her greatest mark of confidence, charged to carry his Luciferian encyclical to Paris during the Universal Exposition. The Diana Vaughan hoax is well known and has been explained time and time again for nearly a century. Here's what New Catholic Encyclopedia says about Leo Taxil. Taxil purported to reveal the existence of Palladium, the most secret Masonic order, which practiced devil worship. He recounted the story of its high priestess Diana Vaughan and ended by publishing the memoirs D'une ex Palladiste after her conversation of Catholicism. When doubts began to spread, Taxil realized the time had come to end the deceit. In a conference in Paris, April 19, 1897, he cynically admitted his hoax, whose aim, he said, was to hold up Catholicism to derision. After Taxil's public confession, Abbe Lervet expressed his disgust and recanted his writings on Diana Vaughan. In April of 1897, issue of Freemasonry disclosed a magazine devoted to the destruction of the craft. As much as he hated Freemasonry, de la Rive had the integrity to admit Taxil's hoax. After Taxil's public confession, and another person that we shall not name here, Taxil declared before an assembly especially convened for him that for 12 years he had arranged and carried out to the end the most extraordinary and most sacrilegious of hoaxes. We have always been careful to publish special articles concerning Palladism and Diana Vaughan. We are now giving in this issue a complete list of articles which can now be considered as not having existed. Quoted in Alex Miller, Strange Masonic Stories, Richmond, Virginia, McCoy Publishing and Masonic Supply Company, Incorporated 1982, page 151. Anyone interested in the plain truth can easily discover the story of Leo Taxil. Recent critics of Freemasonry, however, are not interested in simple facts. These detractors have convinced themselves that Freemasonry is the work of the devil. Thus, they apparently justify their perversions with the thought that they are doing the Lord's work, saving an unsuspecting world from Satan. No misquotation, no distortion, no lie is too great if it accomplishes what they perceive as their holy mission. This includes gleefully perpetuating the bogus Luciferian doctrine of Albert Pike. All this is done in the name of Him who said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Freemasonry teaches its members tolerance, even of its assailants. If you are presented with the story of Pike and Lucifer, quietly but firmly state, it's a lie. Don't let it pass without comment, but don't provoke an argument. The truth is on our side. But remember the words attributed to Edmund Burke: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Alright, fantastic paper by Brent S. Morris as usual. We're going to go right into this week's Masonic Minute with illustrious brother Stephen L. Harrison.
Late one night on a crowded train platform in Jersey City, a crowd pressed forward to purchase sleeping car tickets from a conductor. Among those in the crowd was one of the most famous actors of his time, Edwin Booth, a member of New York Lodge 330. As the crowd pushed forward, a young man was shoved into the space between the platform and the train. At the same time, the train began to move. The young man, a soldier, was helpless to do anything and headed for certain death, until Brother Booth grabbed him and pulled him back to the platform. The young soldier later described the episode this way. The incident occurred while a group of passengers were late at night purchasing their sleeping car places from the conductor who stood on the station platform at the entrance of the car. The platform was about the height of the car floor, and there was, of course, a narrow space between the platform and the car body. There was some crowding, and I happened to be pressed by it against the car body while waiting my turn. In this situation, the train began to move, and by the motion I was twisted off my feet and had dropped somewhat with feet downward into the open space and was personally helpless when my coat collar was vigorously seized and I was quickly pulled up and out to a secure footing on the platform. Upon turning to thank my rescuer, I saw it was Edwin Booth, whose face was, of course, well known to me, and I expressed my gratitude to him, and in doing so, called him by name. Brother Booth modestly went about his business and, for a while, thought nothing more of the incident. Just a few months later, the Civil War ended, and amidst the celebration of that event, the country was shocked and saddened when its leader, Abraham Lincoln, lost his life to an assassin. Edwin Booth was further saddened in that Lincoln's killer was his own brother, John Wilkes Booth. Meanwhile, the soldier related the story of his near-death experience to another officer, Colonel Adam Badu, who was a friend of Edwin Booth. Colonel Badu subsequently wrote a letter to Booth congratulating him on saving the soldier's life. It was not until he received the letter that Brother Edwin knew the man whose life he had saved was Robert Lincoln. In an uncanny coincidence, the brother of the man who killed Abraham Lincoln saved the life of Lincoln's son. Shocked over the tragedy of the president's death and sickened by the fact that his brother was the killer, the fact he had saved the life of Lincoln's son offered some small degree of comfort to Brother Edwin Booth. For the Whence Came You podcast, this is Steve Harrison with the Masonic Minute.
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that segment. Again, illustrious Brother Stephen L. Harrison puts on great effort in making these segments for us, and he even creates videos. So if you go on over to the YouTube channel for Whence Came You, you can check out the videos that go along with these. Just a nice little slideshow. As always, it's amazing. Really is. In fact, just recently, I was watching a show that came out on Netflix called Expedition Unknown, and it's a fantastic program. It's a little scripted at points, but it's pretty good. It was out on the Travel Channel, and there was even an episode where the host goes to the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. But anyway, one of the episodes, he was on the search for Jesse James' lost gold that he supposedly stashed out in the mountains and put 6 bullet holes in this tree. And one of the things that they found that has continually perpetuated this mystery of this lost gold is that they actually found one of the brass buckets that they engraved with the owners of the gold in the bucket, like a contract. One of the names on there was Cole Younger. Cole Younger, that's episode number 27 of the Masonic Minute. So if you get a minute, go back and check it out. It was really cool. And like I said, Stephen L. Harrison has such a knack for writing and telling a cool story. So please do check out these segments on the YouTube channel. You can check it out on his YouTube channel as well. We just kind of mirror his feed. So in any case, please check it out. Great stuff. Check out his books, Freemasons at Oak Island, and also Freemasons Tales from the Craft. 2 really good books. And while I'm talking about Stephen L. Harrison, you guys should know that on June 26th, in Crete, Illinois, Stephen L. Harrison's going to be down there doing a talk. And I'm really looking forward to listening to it. Now, the catch is, I'm going down there to do a talk also because it's Crete Lodge's Masonic Symposium. It's an education symposium. It's going to be really cool, and I'm excited to hear other guys talk. Brother Harrison had mentioned he may do something on Oak Island, and if you have even the slightest interest, you owe it to yourself. Drive however far you got to drive to hear it. It is a fantastic presentation and a great story because, again, like I said, Brother Stephen L. Harrison does great stories and he can just tell a good tale. So that kind of brings us into the presentation schedule. So I was going to be speaking on May 5th at DC Kregier Lodge, but my son's kindergarten has a concert that night. It's his first one, so I can't miss that. So I have a guest coming in to present in my place. That is Brother Daniel Doc Gentry. You may know him from the Midnight Freemasons and his series on mentoring called No Brother Left Behind. He's going to be down there doing a bit on Masonic mentoring in my place. If you get a minute, head on down to DC Kregier in Wheeling, Illinois on May 5th. May 20th at Leyden Laurel Lodge, number 1057 in Franklin Park, Illinois. I'll be doing a presentation. May 31st, I'll be at Damascus 290 in Milwaukee presenting a topic. On June 4th, I'll be in Rockford, Illinois. Details pending. June 26th, again, Crete, Illinois. Honesdale Lodge in PA. Now moved to 2017. Looks like I'll be out there presenting under Brother Clint Langford. If you ever get a chance to go talk to Clint and you're out in PA, be amazed. He can definitely blow your mind with some interesting stuff. Alright, that brings us to this week's famous Freemason. This week's famous Freemason is Alphonse Mucha. Alphonse Mucha was a painter and an artist, and he was the founder of Restored Czech Freemasonry. Born July 24th, 1880, passed away July 14th, 1939, often known in English and French as Alphonse Mucha, was a Czech Art Nouveau painter and a decorative artist. Known best for his distinct style, he produced many paintings, illustrations, advertisements, postcards, and designs. Mucha considered his publication Le Pater to be his printed masterpiece and referenced to it in the New York Sun of the 5th of January 1900 as what he had, quote-unquote, put his soul into. It was printed on the 20th of December, 1899. Le Pater was Mucha's occult examination of themes of the Lord's Prayer, and only 510 copies were produced. Pretty interesting. Mucha spent many years working on what he considered his life's fine art masterpiece, the Slav Epic, a series of 20 huge paintings depicting the history of Czech and of the Slavic people in general. Bestowed to the city of Prague in 1928, he had wanted to complete a series such as this, a celebration of Slavic history since he was young. From 1963 until 2012, the series was on display in the chateau in Moravsky Krumlov in the South Moravian region in the Czech Republic. Since 2012, the series has been on display at the National Gallery's Palace in Prague. The rising tide of fascism during the late 1930s resulted in Mucha's works and his Slavic nationalism being denounced in the press as reactionary. When German troops moved to Czechoslovakia during the spring of 1939, Mucha was among the first persons to be arrested by the Gestapo. During his interrogation, the aging artist became ill with pneumonia. Though released eventually, he may have been weakened by this event. He died in Prague on the 14th of July 1939 due to a lung infection and was interred there in the cemetery. Although it enjoys great popularity today, at the time when he died, Mucha's style was considered outdated. His son was an author and devoted much of his life to writing about him and bringing attention to his artwork. In his own country, the new authorities were not interested in Mucha. The Slav epic was rolled and stored for 25 years before being shown in Moravsky's Krumlov, and a Mucha museum opened in Prague managed by his grandson John Mucha. Mucha's work has continued to experience periodic revivals of interest for illustrators and artists. Interest in Mucha's distinctive style experienced a strong revival during the 1960s with a general interest in Art Nouveau, and is particularly evident in the psychedelic posters of Hapshash and the Colored Coat, the collective name for British artists Michael English and Nigel Weymouth and Bob Massey. Mucha's work is strongly acknowledged influence for Stuckist painter Paul Harvey. The band Soylent Green used the picture by Mucha for a cover art of their album's Sewn Mouth Secrets. One of Mucha's paintings, Quo Vadis, or alternatively Petronius and Eunice, was the subject of a legal dispute in 1986. The judgment by Richard Posner describes parts of Mucha's life and work biographically. Among his many other accomplishments, Mucha was also the restorer of Czech Freemasonry. One of the largest collections of Mucha's works is in the possession of the former world #1 professional tennis player Ivan Lendl, who started collecting his works upon meeting Mucha's son in 1982. His collection was exhibited publicly for the first time in 2013 in Prague. Now, I have to say, if you look up this guy's artwork, it is astounding. How it could ever be considered outdated is beyond me. We look at paintings like this today and we see movie posters like this. We see this, if you're a fan of comic books, you see this artwork done all the time in the works of like anything that might be tied to, say, Alan Moore, where we look at the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or you can look at these and you can see Mike Mignola's Hellboy. Just some really interesting artwork. I can't say enough about it. It really is really cool to see some of those. If you just type in Alphonse Mucha, ALPHONSE space MUCHA in Google, and just go to the Wikipedia page, and there are several of his works that border the article about him, which we just read. And these artworks are just fantastic. Any one of them you could put in your house and it would just be amazing. So again, check that out. And that's going to bring us to the end of the program this week. So that's it. I hope you guys really enjoyed the program. If you did, please find us on Facebook and on Twitter at Whence. Check us out on Google Plus at the email address wcypodcast@gmail.com. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, go ahead and email them on over. If you just want to chit chat and say hi, that's cool too. I love getting emails. Now, there are times when I can't respond right away, so if it's been more than 2 weeks, shoot me another email just to remind me to say hey, and I will probably say, I got you, you're on my radar, I just haven't got to you just yet. I do respond to every email personally, so I don't have like a junk folder and just not choose to respond. So I will always respond. If you love Masonic stuff just as much as I do, then please check out the Midnight Freemasons, which publishes 3 articles every week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We've got some great content coming up. I hope you really enjoy it. Toddy Creason just launched a great new series. I want you to check that out. In addition to that, the Masonic Roundtable goes live every Tuesday at 10/9 Central. We have great conversation. We've got great topics. We never stray away from the hard subjects. And one of the best parts about it is you can interact with us live as we record the show. So you can put stuff up on our page under the event page, and we can answer those questions online. We can read your comments. We'll even show Masonic memes or pictures and stuff that you post right there live on YouTube for everybody to check out. And of course, that's also available on iTunes. Speaking of iTunes, head on over there. Leave us a rating if you can for Whence Came You or the Masonic Roundtable. We really need the ratings. It helps us get pushed up in the search results. And you know that we're legit Freemasons, and we want to put legitimate information out there for Freemasons and men looking to join. The last thing we want to do is promote some garbage out there, right? That's not going to be talking about the excellent tenets of our institution. So that's what we want to do. We want to push this fraternity into the future. You know, Grand Lodges in the future may die off. We don't know. But Freemasonry itself will never die. Our members will still be around. Lodges will always be there. So we want to make sure that we are promoting the craft the way it should be promoted. So please help us do that. So with that, I'll talk to you all next week. Until then, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.